Look at your screen right now. No, seriously, look at it. If you saw this coming down the road, you wouldn't know whether to signal a turn or pick it up and put it in your pocket. It looks like a Ferrari that spent too much time in a high-heat dryer. It's adorable, it's ambitious, and it's slightly confusing. This is the 1957 Meadows FriskySport, a vehicle that proves that in the 1950s, the British automotive industry was basically operating on a dare. Before we dive into the glorious, cramped, and occasionally backward-running history of this microscopic marvel, do me a massive favor. If you love these weird, wonderful, and flat-out bizarre relics of automotive history, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. We're on a mission to document every strange machine that ever leaked oil on a showroom floor, and you don't want to miss a single one of them. Now, let's talk about the car that decided to fight giants while being roughly the size of a giant's left shoe. To understand why the Meadows FriskySport exists, we have to look at the global situation in 1956. The Suez Crisis had hit, and suddenly gasoline was more precious than printer ink. Britain was under a cloud of fuel rationing, and people were desperate for anything that didn't drink gas like a thirsty camel. While the Americans were busy building cars that looked like chrome-plated space stations with tail fins that could be seen from low Earth orbit, the British were looking for a way to get to work without going bankrupt. Enter Raymond Flower. Raymond was a racing driver with a dream and a very optimistic sense of scale. He teamed up with the Henry Meadows Company, a firm famous for building massive, heavy-duty engines for tanks and ships. It's the ultimate irony of automotive history. A company that built the hearts of war machines decided their next big project would be a fiberglass bubble with a lawnmower engine. They didn't just want to build a box with wheels, though. They wanted style. So they did what everyone did in the 50s when they wanted to look cool. They went to Italy. They hired Giovanni Michelotti, the man who designed cars for Ferrari, Maserati, and Triumph. Asking Michelotti to design a microcar is a bit like asking Leonardo da Vinci to draw a stick figure. He's going to make it the most beautiful stick figure you've ever seen. Michelotti gave the FriskySport those gorgeous bug-eyed headlights and a sleek, low-slung body that suggested speed, even though the car was physically incapable of it. The result was a vehicle that looked like it was doing 80 while it was parked, which was a good thing because 80 was a number this car would only ever see on a falling speedometer during a cliff dive. Now, let's talk about what was happening under that tiny fiberglass shell. Tucked away in the back, like a noisy secret, was a 250cc Villiers twin-cylinder two-stroke engine. For those of you not fluent in engine sizes, 250cc is what you find in a modest dirt bike today. It produced about 15 horsepower. To put that in perspective, a modern toaster has about half that much power if you really push it. But the engineering wasn't just small, it was eccentric. Starting the car involved something called a dynastart. This was a clever unit that worked as both a starter and a generator. But the real party trick, and I use that term loosely because it would terrify most normal people, was how you went backward. The FriskySport didn't have a reverse gear in the transmission. If you wanted to back out of your driveway, you had to turn the engine off, flip a switch, and restart the engine in the opposite direction. Yes, the entire engine ran backward. This meant that theoretically you had the same number of gears going forward that you did going backward. If you were brave enough, or perhaps had completely lost your mind, you could try to do 40 miles per hour in reverse. It was the only car on the market that allowed you to ruin your transmission and your life at the exact same time. Stepping into a FriskySport, or rather wearing it, was a lesson in personal boundaries. If you had a passenger, you were essentially sharing a sleeping bag with them. There was no personal space. Your shoulders were touching, your knees were touching, and you were probably breathing each other's air. The steering wheel was tiny, and the wheels were only 8 inches in diameter. These are tires that look like they belong on a very high-end wheelbarrow. Driving it was an exercise in sensory overload. Every crack in the pavement felt like a Grand Canyon-sized crater. If you ran over a nickel, you could tell if it was heads or tails. And the sound. Because it was a two-stroke, it didn't purr. It screamed like a chainsaw that had just stubbed its toe. Ring-ding-ding-ding-ding was the soundtrack of your journey, usually accompanied by a thick cloud of blue smoke that made it look like you were arriving at your destination via a localized forest fire. Despite being a motorized roller skate, Meadows marketed the FriskySport as a legitimate sports car. The brochures were filled with photos of stylish people looking incredibly happy, which I assume was because they had just finished a very long lunch with several glasses of wine. They called it the car with the big heart, which is marketing speak for "it's very small and we feel bad for you." But people actually bought them. For a brief window of time, it looked like the microcar would conquer the world. The FriskySport was the microscopic convertible that fought giants. It went up against the Volkswagen Beetle and the massive American imports, arguing that less was more. It was a brave stance, right up until 1959 when the BMC Mini was released. The Mini was a real car. It had 4 seats, a heater that actually heated things, and an engine that didn't require you to restart your entire life just to back up. The Mini killed the microcar craze faster than a spider at a shoe convention. Meadows tried to keep the dream alive, but the company struggled. They went through financial turmoil, ownership changes, and eventually the Frisky brand just sort of evaporated into the mist of automotive history. Only about 75 of these sport models are thought to have been made, which makes them incredibly rare today. If you find one now, it's a collector's item worth a surprising amount of money, mostly because they are so weird that people can't help but love them. So what do we take away from the Meadows FriskySport? It was a car born of necessity but dressed up in Italian fashion. It was a vehicle that dared to be different in a world that was moving towards bigger, faster, and more standardized machines. It was loud, it was cramped, it smelled of oil and ambition, and it remains one of the most charming mistakes ever to roll off a British assembly line. It didn't defeat the giants, but it certainly gave them something to laugh at while they passed it on the highway. And honestly, isn't that what classic car culture is all about? It's not just about the fastest or the best, it's about the ones that make us smile. The FriskySport is the ultimate smile car. Just remember, if you ever get the chance to drive one, make sure you know which way the engine is spinning before you let the clutch, or you might end up as a permanent fixture in the back wall of your garage. Thanks for watching, don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one where we find something even smaller and stranger.